It's time to be woke, take off your shades, it helps see through the smoke, cause the wicked hide behind the cloak, and if you stay in the mist, you gon' be soaked, so listen up, cause this hair of the dog, what's real, what ain't, is this the fog or smog, cause there's a difference when you breathe it in, so don't let the corporate media take you for a spin, this that morning show, they put you in the know, so I hope that you ready, cause all we do is go, 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 yeah, come get your info, you gon' be like, whoa. Hair of the dog, we bout that, ayy. We in the zone, we out here, yeah. Spitting the facts.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Hair of the Dog. I'm Andy Kennedy. It is Wednesday, and we have a big show planned for you today, so we are going to get right to it. Good morning, Carrie Barber. How are you this morning?
Good morning, Andy. Really appreciate it. And yeah, I'm super excited because this is one of those rare opportunities where every day we try to live our message on this particular network. And this is one of those opportunities where it becomes very obvious and evident. And this is exactly why we're here on DLF. So we appreciate all the support. And if this is the first time that you're joining us this morning, we are absolutely live and interactive, so anything can happen. Bear with us a little bit on that, on the technical piece. But what that means for you is if you type a comment into the chat, either on our Facebook or Twitter, our YouTube, our Twitch, or any of our channels, we will see it here, and I will scour all of Facebook to make sure that I get all of your comments and questions, and you can participate in this particular conversation as well. If you have a comment that's snarky, we will be snarky right back. So heads up on that. So we're gonna get started with it, but real quick. I just want to make a comment because I know that this is trending on social media about Justice Democrats and the executive director who came out in favor of Neera Tanden and her nomination to the Office of Budget and Management. And I just want to say this, Andy and I have talked about this quite a bit, where groups start out really good and then end up getting co-opted either through monetary contributions or new leadership or something like that. So in my mind, what you're seeing with that advocacy for Neera Tanden is part and parcel to that. And number two on the whole issue is nobody gives a damn about Neera's tweets, right? It's just indicative of who she is as an individual. What people care about are her policies and those neoliberal policies that she advocates for that actually cause misery and death across the entire country, which I think relates to part of the conversation that we're going to have today. So I just want to put that out there real quick. Understand what you're seeing and don't be don't be distracted by her tweets. It was never really about her tweets. It's about the policies that she's advocating for that, you know, literally cost lives.
Yes. I think at some point Russia will be brought up in this conversation, as it always is.
Yeah, we're already Russian bots, so there's that. So, okay, but without further ado, I just wanted to put that out there. I do want to introduce the folks that we have that were so gracious enough to take time away from their important work to sit with us this morning and tell the story in their words. So I want to introduce everyone to the water protectors that we have with us this morning. So it's just a few of the people who have taken their time and put their own persons at risk by doing what they're doing on behalf of all of us. So good morning, Mike Davis. Thank you for joining us from Taos. And go ahead, pronounce that correctly for me.
Yes, good morning. We're in lovely Taos, New Mexico, high up in the Rocky Mountains, northern New Mexico. And I'm here with my friends, fellow water protectors, Stephen Romero from Taos Pueblo.
Hello. Nice to meet you all.
And Laura Suazo from Taos.
Hey guys.
Good morning.
Wonderful. Good morning. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day. I know you guys are right in the middle of an important action. So tell us what you're doing and why you're there.
Okay, it's a lot to tell. So we're a coalition of grassroots activists, just human beings, concerned citizens of our area and around the area. And we are standing against the implementation of the Abeta settlement, which is a very complex water sharing agreement that was made between local governments, tribal government here in Taos, and even the state and the federal government. It was signed off by Barack Obama, and it's a very complex agreement. We could talk more about it, but it's a water sharing agreement, but it's also a huge sell-off of the water and privatization of the water. And it's the implications of the Abeta settlement could result in the destruction of the watersheds and the ecosystems here in Taos that have thrived and continue to do so, even with this modern industrial and getting polluted world, that still there are clean rivers. There's a water sharing system called the Acequias going way back, an ancient water sharing cooperative system that's still intact amongst the Pueblo and Spanish people and the other non-native residents that have come into the area. And this is all in jeopardy and being threatened. So we're standing up for the water because water is life. And right now we have an encampment because they're making their next move. They drilled 2 deep water wells, and they have slated to make up to 18 more, which we can talk about because they're 2 different kinds of wells. But they're now making a huge pipeline under the US 64, Highway 64, to connect these 2 wells and start bringing this water to town. And this water in one of these wells over 1,000 gallons per minute, the other one close to that. And it's those 2 wells are because of we could talk more about it, but they call for potentially up to 18 more of a different kind of well. And we're worried that these wells are going to deplete the groundwater, the surface water, combined with drought conditions and the global warming being in the Southwest. And so we're making a stand for the water, for our community, for the future generations. I know that's a lot to start with. Can't hear you.
You're muted, Carrie.
All right, there we go. So my apologies, but let's take a step back here just a little bit and make sure that everyone understands. So Andy and I have talked at length about other issues across, in particular, the United States. And this past year, we had something like, Andy, correct me if I'm wrong, it was like 42% of the United States was under drought. So when people think of New Mexico, they automatically think, okay, desert, whatever, why does this matter? But this is happening all over the US. And then, oh, by the way, Flint still doesn't have clean water because of the infrastructure. So this is happening all over the United States. And we talked about a place in South Carolina where their wells are actually being poisoned. So this should apply to everybody. We should all already have an understanding of why water is so important. But now we take this into Taos, where you have this river and an aquifer, and the river comes down to where I am in Albuquerque, but then goes even further into Texas. So if we're already, like here in Albuquerque, we have farms, family farms, and even corporate farms who are already fighting over water rights. And if upstream, you guys are now having corporations and other people taking more of that water, that's less for us, just a few, not too far from you, and then everyone else downstream too. So we're talking about millions of people in this waterway alone who could be affected. Am I right in thinking that?
Yes, you're completely right. And downstream from all the farmers and the people in Albuquerque and then in New Mexico, where the Rio Grande goes out to, and to Texas, to the Permian Basin, which is where this huge amount of fracking for natural gas is happening, and they have to inject water in to frack the gas out. So it's a huge issue about the potential for water going there for more destroying the environment. And when people's needs should be first. And people have always shared water in this region's always been dry. So people know how to share water, and water's is life. It's our first medicine as human beings. We can't live without it. Everyone has a fundamental right to water and to have clean water, clean food, clean air to breathe. So we're dealing with a global phenomena of where corporate interests, where profit interests are coming first, whereas really our right as human beings living on the earth is first, and our right to have water to live. And what we're asking for is people to join us to support us, and then in their own communities to work to protect their environment, their water, their air, and their human right, and as living beings to have clean water and clean air, and to cooperate together for this, because the governments and corporations have shown over and over again that they don't have our interests in mind, and they got people, debating and polarized over, politics, when really, whether Democrat or Republican, if their extreme multinational corporate interests are actually pulling their strings, then they truly don't have our interests in mind whatsoever. And so all over the world, people are fighting for natural resources and for just to be able to have clean water. And we're a part of that. We have that same situation going on here in Taos community in our valley.
Oh, okay. So take us through the risk again. So as I understand it, there's an issue with taking water from the Rio Grande, and then an issue with the aquifer. Help me understand what it is that they want to do with the aquifer.
Yeah, it's crazy, and it's barely been done before, and that's why we're making a stand. So they've, as part of this agreement, was a long time in the coming, and a long time in the making, and it has to do with a long history, because this is first and foremost, we are in Taos Pueblo territory. This land belongs to the Tiwa people, the Red Willow Nation, who from here, and this is they're still living on their ancestral land, and they never moved. And then there's the Spanish community that's been here for over 400 plus years, and or almost 400 years, maybe about there. And then the non-native communities that have come in since, the 1800s, and then more diverse communities in the 20th century. But already there were issues because of the dry climate. There already were, many issues about water going back hundreds of years. And so the Abedas settlement, which took itself decades to come to this agreement, in a way is very positive, that it reaffirms Taos Pueblo's first rights to the water as the First Nation indigenous people from here. And that's something we fully support. And we're, again, humble and thankful to Taos Pueblo for letting all of us people live on their land, their ancestral land, and to be here in this valley. It's a great honor and a privilege for all of us. So that's first. And so that part of the Abedas settlement is really good. It reaffirms the Taos Pueblo's rights to the water, but also the rights of the other communities to have water as well. So on the surface, it seems like a very great plan, a great agreement. But somehow hydrologists, scientists, greedy corporate interests that want to privatize natural resources, water, have gotten their hands in it, and it's been signed off now. And so it's law now, but they've manipulated it so as to hide their hidden agenda, which is actually which is a fewfold, and there's a lot of secrets about it, but like you were alluding to, where the water's going downriver. But they want to do major development here in El Prado on the north side of Taos, and basically it looks like they want to make it into a Santa Fe. They already did the airport expansion. They want to make the Tarleton development, a housing development, strip malls, all kind of development, which is going to change the whole area and is going to impede upon the traditional peoples, the Acequia ways, the Taos Pueblo and their traditional doings, having that kind of modern population here. So it's really a fight against also modernization and development. But then here's the real, even, what do they call it, nefarious part of it, a real scary thing. So because of these big supply wells that were now actually blocking this pipeline to connect these wells that they want to put under the road right now at this moment, heavy equipment, people on the front lines risking their lives. So, but because of these supply wells that are going to take so much water out, and then that combined with drought conditions, as we were talking about, and global warming, they've put in this Abedas settlement, that by having these supply wells, it requires putting in what they call mitigation wells. And these mitigation wells they want to make up to 18 of them. And these are slated, these are going to be on each of the watersheds, the different rivers in our valley, Rio Hondo, Rio Pueblo, Rio Lucero, Rio Fernando, Rio Chiquito, and others. These rivers, they want to make these mitigation wells. It's a different kind of well, not the supply well for the human use and the development use, but these are wells which are to mitigate. That's why mitigation wells, mitigate against against drought conditions, and global warming, and so they're worried that these supply wells will lower the water table, that rivers are going to dry up, and so they've mandated that these mitigation wells will happen. And these mitigation wells are going to drill deep down into the lower aquifer and drill into what they call fossil water that's some of it over 1,000 feet down, and it's full of uranium and radon and arsenic and other really harmful chemicals. They want to then filter this water through millions of dollar filtration machines, and then put it back into the rivers and into the acequias to mitigate them drying up because of the overharvesting of water and drought conditions and global warming. And
wait, Mike, I want to interrupt you right there, because this makes me mad, and I want to make sure that I understand this correctly. So they're talking about, in the event that they reduce the water that is coming down to Albuquerque, El Paso, Texas, Mexico, in the event that that is being depleted, and we know it already is, if they make it worse, they're going to pump this water full of uranium and all sorts of chemicals, try to filter it and send it down to me here in Albuquerque, El Paso, Texas, and everything else. And it's our problem to deal with. Is that correct?
Right. That's right. So not only can that possibly wreck the acequias and the rivers up here and the whole culture up here and the ecosystems here, but we don't know what could go into the, what it's gonna do to the water and what it will do downstream. Absolutely, these are concerns. We've asked repeatedly for NEPA studies, environmental impact statements, and we haven't gotten anywhere with that. So we've addressed our local government, we've addressed the county, we've addressed all the different authorities, and to no avail. And that's why we're standing this way on the front lines, and we want to try to get more people involved so we can make a difference, because it's only our power as human beings in unity with each other as human beings beyond culture, race, religion, ideology. We all need the water. And so if we unite, then we have power. And that's why we're here today. And thanks for having us. And I want to introduce my friends here because they got a lot to say too.
Please, go ahead.
Okay. Who wants to start? You want to start? Okay.
Hey, well, I don't know exactly what to say except for that I came here, I got there this morning early because I knew that they would be up, of course, and the workers are at it. And, I've been knowing these guys for a long time. I'm an active community member of Taos, and I'm always willing to stand by them. Also with the Green Party of Taos, an active member with the Green Party of Taos. I'm there because that's all I can do, and I hope and pray that other people make it down here as soon as possible, because that's all that they're asking. And, thoughts are powerful and water is strong. And thank you guys.
Hello, everybody. Coming here from the Ute Nation and Taos Pueblo Nation. Great grandson of Juan de Jesus Romero, who was the cacique during the time of our Blue Lake intervene with the government with the Nixon era, and also great grandfather Lorenzo Lujan, who were leaders back in the days before I was even born. And I'm here to represent them as their great grandson, to stand up for what is right for the people. the brothers and sisters, some of them are, it's hard for them to come out to make a stand. So I'm here to show them that it's good to stand up for your right, no matter what governments, whatever they say. I'm here because I know what is right, to be here to defend our water, to get it out there to the community, to tell them that it's not wrong to stand up. Mother Earth needs our help. Our water needs our help. We cannot drink oil. Once the water is depleted, it's gone. There's nothing that we can do. So we have to defend it now. And the whole globe has to know what's going on, because I'm sure other countries, other places, this is happening, and they're probably scared. They don't know how to go about it. And this is just something that we could get out there to the community, to the globe, to say, hey, make a stand for what is right. I mean, at times it can be scary. There's times where maybe there's just a few of us, but the spirit carries us with strength, and good things happen. And water is life. Our water is not for sale.
Oh,
Those corporations need to understand where they come from. Yeah, finances, money, fame and everything, but that's just little stuff. When you come down to it, life is precious. This earth is precious. What it gives us food, it gives us clean air, water to drink. Some places we can't even drink out of the rivers because it's polluted because of corporations. Animals, human beings suffer from that. So we can make a stand globally, worldwide. We could change the outcome of global warming. We can make this planet more better for not only human beings, but for the animals. And I'm just thankful for other brothers and sisters to be here to make a stand. And I believe this is going to make us stronger. We're going to be able to awaken humanity so that way they can know what's really going on. And I'm very thankful for your network and other networks who are able to, support us, get it out there so that way all the brothers and sisters all over the world can see that, it's not about our skin color. We're all human beings. We all bleed red, and we just need to stand together in humanity and unite together to make a change in this world.
oh.
Wonderful message, wonderful message. So here's a general question for you, for people who are watching this morning and still really not putting it together. Where I came from in Illinois, it was kind of a petri dish, a testing ground for policy. And what they would do is kind of float something out there and see how much public pushback there was on this particular policy or whatever they were trying to do. This is where right to work and all of these other sorts of corporate centered policy came from. So what we discovered is when we got enough people together to say, no, we don't accept this, that it kind of quieted that rhetoric. So with this particular issue, we saw Standing Rock and the Dakotas stand up and say no, and the public outcry that came from it actually helped to change federal policy and put this issue aside. Now we see that it's starting to rear up again, and here in Taos, it's very similar. So what you're saying or suggesting, correct me if I'm wrong, is what we do here matters. Our response matters. And whether you're in New York or Connecticut, or you're physically able to come and join the water protectors, all of the pushback that we are able to achieve will matter for all of us, not just Taos and the rest of us downriver. Is that correct?
Yes. No matter where your background is, who you are, if you're indigenous, if you're not, it all matters what we do to save, the planet, our Mother Earth, our resources, because it can be easily taken away. It can be damaged. Water, like the oil spills in the water, that's it's hard to, clean that up, fracking water, that's hard to even, even if somebody tried to filter that, there's no way we could be able to use that for, for fields, for growing food. We can't drink it. We can't, it's nothing we can do about that unless we change it now and put a stop to it. And, we're just asking that all brothers and sisters to, I know during this challenging times with the COVID, but we have to realize that we can't live in fear. We have to kind of make that stance to be strong, to help support one another and come out and see how it is and see what's going on, because what's happening here can happen to their town, to their city. And it would be nice if they came out to see it, so that way they can be like, okay, wow, what are they doing? Let's go home to their state and their city or their country and be like, hey, I saw these group of, water protectors, they're doing this, and I think we can do that for our town and our place.
Okay, can I say something?
Yes, I'd like to give the camera off to Mike real quick.
Thank you.
If it's all right thanks, Stephen. I just wanted to add that it's one water, even though people might think that their own locale is something totally independent. What's like if they're in New York or Iowa, that why would it matter what happens up in the little town up in the Rockies? But it completely matters, because if we can have a victory here and the victories of the people are so few, then that can inspire movements all over. And if we can support each other all over, that will empower all the movements. So we're in solidarity with the peoples in Minnesota that are right now in sub-freezing temperatures fighting to stop the Line 3. And, a lot of our water protectors were up in North Dakota to try to stop the DAPL, and that's still not the Dakota Access Pipeline. That's still not finished. And we heard many times that they were pulling the plug, the federal government, on these projects, but then they somehow keep going. They find that loophole. And so even though we've heard the great news that Keystone's been canceled by Biden, we have to still keep pushing to make sure that actually happens, because they have, other methods and other, tricks up their sleeve, the corporate interests. And I just want to point out that the Maori tribe, Maori nation in New Zealand, they were able to change the law in New Zealand so that now in New Zealand federal law, the water has human rights. It has rights, so that if they pollute the water, then people can make a lawsuit against whoever's polluting it, or if they're threatening to pollute it, to, like, in the same way, if my rights as a human were being infringed upon, they could do that on behalf of the water. And they have a panel of indigenous people, Maori people, and then the scientists that work with them that will go and then to court on behalf of the water to speak the case for the water if the water is in danger. And so we want to do that here, not just in Taos County, but in the United States, and then globally, to what they've done also in Bolivia, to say that Mother Earth and all the living beings and creatures have rights too, not just because they don't speak English and trade money and use iPhones, that they're somehow dumb and they don't have a right, but they have all the right as much as we do. They have eyes and nose and mouth and ears. They were born from their mother and father, who were born from their mother and father, their generations. And so we need a fundamental, like, awakening, a purification of humanity, where it's not profit is not the bottom line. Our right, our, like, some fundamental right to make excess money, that's bogus. And so we have a big problem in our whole society. Actually, we need a re-evaluation and understanding that we're only here because our ancestors had this respect for the water and the environment and lived in harmony with the earth. We want to think that somehow the past people were ignorant, but they didn't wreck the very ecosystem that all life depends upon. And we're only here because all they're cultivating the roots of culture for how many generations, thousands, millions of years beyond any of our mind, no matter where we come from and who we think we are and what we think is true or not. We're all living on Mother Earth, one mother. So it's one water. That's a earful.
It is. Actually, you touched on a really good idea because I seem to recall about a decade ago, Colorado gave dogs rights. And this was a pushback to animal cruelty. So now if you are convicted or accused of abusing a dog, they can bring a case against you on behalf of that dog. So if this is happening in New Zealand where they were able to give water rights, I wonder, because in New Mexico, we happen to have a special election coming up. Deb Haaland has been nominated for Secretary of the Interior, and she is, yeah, she is actually my congressional representative right now, and there's a special election coming for people who have stepped up to fill that seat. So is it something that maybe we can do to contact all of these candidates who have put their name in the hat to run for election, to ask them if they would be willing to sponsor legislation, and not just them, but our state representatives here in Santa Fe, if they would be willing to sponsor legislation to deem water with rights the way that it was done in New Zealand. Seems like a no-brainer and an easy ask.
Yes, and the earth and the air, the animals, the trees, it's of course start with the water, but then that can go to all the other different, everything needs protection. And I just want to say that something that you were speaking with Stephen before, and I want to just mention that the people of this community are in support of what we're doing. They're a little scared because of the COVID times, so a lot of people are honking or bringing firewood or food out, and but then they're leaving. So it's a small group, but it gets bigger at times. But we understand because of these scary times with the pandemic and all. But I just want to say that the people of all the different various diverse communities here all support protecting the water. And even though it looks like it's a done deal, like they're already bringing in all the heavy equipment and doing this work, and already they've signed off it, and the federal government signed off on it, that was just a few people in power positions manipulating and making it seem like they had the consensus of the people, when in reality it wasn't that way at all. And the people, like Stephen was saying, that his people fought for like virtually the whole, like the 20th century, to get their Blue Lake and their land back, and they finally did, from Richard Nixon. And now just to have it now, this younger generation, a few people corrupt at the top, selling out the water to the Ski Valley and El Prado for this development. And then also when we speak with our Spanish allies and the Acequia, people, the Acequia associations, they're fully in support of our movement, and they're standing up. Also, right now there's a lawsuit in for El Salto and Arroyo Seco to stop the mitigation well there. So we're hoping that lawsuit will then include all of for all of the different Acequia associations and watersheds for a comprehensive collective lawsuit to stop the mitigation wells, pending the NEPA study, the environmental impact statement. And so that's what's going on.
So that was actually my next question, because we know that corporate interests, particularly as we saw in North Dakota, don't necessarily respond to the human outcry, but they do respond to legal challenges. And the NEPA study that was requested in North Dakota is similar to what action you guys are asking for, which is pretty basic stuff, right? If I try to build a house, I have to provide some sort of environmental impact study, and all of that has to go through. So why, as a corporation, wouldn't you have to do the same thing? So my question is, are you aware of other legal maneuvers, or are you getting assistance from attorneys, or do you need help from attorneys to help on the legal front to back up what you're doing in civic action?
Yes, we absolutely need help from attorneys and people with power to be able to speak truth to power and make change through the legal, channels. Because we have some attorneys we've worked with, but nothing has bared any fruit whatsoever, and they're fully implementing this abatement settlement. They're moving forward with, all the money and all the work crews and machinery, and they're doing this at breakneck speed, it looks like. and we need we're doing anything we can to stop them, and that's why we're desperate. So we're making the stand and putting our bodies on the line. But yes, we need help desperately.
As
Okay.
well, I just wanted to chime in here. How do you affect capitalists, right? You take away their income stream, which is what we're talking about here, right? We're talking about rich people getting richer because they want to exploit the next big thing, which is the one thing that keeps us all alive, right? That's the bottom line. So how do you affect capitalists? You stop giving them capital, right? That's why it's important for us to even think in terms of taking our stop giving our money to large corporations, right? As soon as they start to feel the pinch of that, that's when we force them to change, right? We've seen that on a number of occasions. So these are also avenues that we have to us to try to save our ability to live on this planet.
Yes.
So, Mike, what's the name of the company that is pursuing these wells and the water rights and all of this? What's the name of it?
It's not one company, because it's such a huge project for this entire watershed, this entire valley, and involving the Rio Grande and all the different rivers and the aquifers, that it's not one company. It's a water sharing agreement between the local governments and the Taos Pueblo and the local governments, the tribe and the local governments, and signed off on a state and federal level. And it's they're hiring different companies for the different jobs. Like they had the company that drilled the wells was out of Colorado, brought huge rigs in.
Whoa, wait a second. So they're not even using New Mexico companies. They're using out of state companies.
That's right.
Oh, okay. So here in the Sandia Mountains, south of Taos, we had a development company who wanted to come in and do luxury golf courses and luxury condominiums. And it was a coalition of people from all across the political spectrum who got together and said, you will not give them permits, you will not give them water rights, and we were able to stop it. This happened before I got here, but I am keeping close tabs on it. So in Taos, which we all think of, yeah, there's tourism, but it's also a holistic community and collaborative. How are the people of Taos not pushing back on the permits from their local governments who are participating in this?
Right, because they don't even know, because the media is biased and is not sharing these truths. People are unaware. They're pulling a fast one. They're pulling the wool over our eyes. The same story, like weapons of mass destruction in Iraq, and then they go wreck a nation, generations, torture them at Abu Ghraib, destroy Fallujah. It spills over into Syria. ISIS is formed. I mean, look at what's going on. This imperialism, this capitalism is causing all this problem. And for the most part, the people, we're not even aware. We're like believing all kind of BS online because it's a free for all, and because they have ways of manipulating our information, and we don't even know that we don't even have the correct information to debate about. So it's a real dangerous situation. I know it sounds really mundane, but like just obvious. But I think also I agree with what your colleague was saying about defunding them, not spending our money and hitting them where it hurts in that way. And I think even more is, again, it sounds mundane. It sounds like just like nothing, but to be able to collectivize, to unify as human beings, as again, beyond culture, race, religion, ideology, but just for the water, for the land, for our human rights, for our future generations. This is where we have power, and we've seen that every time we do that and are able to stand together collectively, then they want to come to the table, and then we can, then they want to negotiate with us. So we have to find a way to collectivize, and it's not socialism, it's not communism, it's us as human beings taking responsibility and working together and saying we're not going to wait for governments or corporations who have the media as their mouthpiece to tell us what's right, what we can do, what we can't do, that we have a right. And also we want to, there's a really nefarious thing that's been occurring. I just want to speak about or point out since this COVID, where anytime where people that try to stand up for our human rights, that are the real activists that protect the earth, are being grouped with these violent extremists, like the ones that stormed the Capitol. And they even tried to blame that on Black Lives Matter and Antifa. And that should be a super wake-up call. Like anyone, that's nonsense. So already just all this Antifa or QAnon stuff, like people need to really like educate themselves and not believe just a corporate news network and what they're saying, because they got us fighting against each other. It's the classic divide and conquer, and it's not what's going on at all. It's still business as usual. We're so hard up that $1,200 or $600 or maybe $1,400 stimulus check makes a difference in our lives. But we have to look at these corporations that are being given billions and trillions of dollars through all this so-called stimulus, and what's really going on in this world. So they got people living in fear. People are isolated, which is really not conducive to good health. And then we're recycling carbon dioxide and now double masks. There's a problem here.
Yeah. Okay, Mike. Let me stop you right there, because we're actually running out of time. And Andy and I have covered the difference between federal spending and state spending, and all of this could easily be addressed if we had the political will. We have trillions for Wall Street. We don't have a dime for regular people or water. So before we get out of here, how can people help you? We talked about you need legal assistance with this. We need people
most of all, what we need are people, sorry to interrupt, what we need are people to come right now to the front lines, to the US 64, just west of Taos, heading out to the Rio Grande Gorge Bridge. You'll see the teepee, the fire, the people gathered, the cars parked, and we need people to stand with us now to stop this pipeline. It is today and tomorrow. It looks like they're going to be boring under they have the auger, the huge drill bits under the US 64 to connect to these pipelines to these supply wells. And so we need people right now to come out if they can and support, and then all the legal stuff as well.
Okay, so we need people out there social distancing, wear your mask, wash your hands, bring gloves. You can do this responsibly and just be there in solidarity and support, whether you live in Taos or the surrounding areas or surrounding states. It's a beautiful day. We've got great weather. You can get there safely.
Yes, and and come self-sufficient and come in peace and respect. We are a camp of no violence, no drugs, no alcohol. We are law-abiding, and we are our power is in unity and in peace. So we ask that people come in that way, in respect. It's we're not those people that have we're not even though they might have a point about standing up for their freedoms and not liking it. We're here to protect Mother Earth and the water.
Okay.
We're not waving flags. Like, that's not what we're doing.
Got it. Okay, so if somebody
we're the real protesters. We're the real, not the ones that just came out since the pandemic started or with Trump. We are the real ones.
So if somebody cannot physically get there, what can they do to support you? Is it just sharing this broadcast or joining?
You guys are awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. So is it just sharing this broadcast, sharing your message, making sure that people understand what's going on, raising awareness? What else can people do to help?
Yes, and help in their own communities, organize in your own communities, and whatever is an important issue. If there's police brutality happening or racism happening or, economic inequality or something's being polluted or being threatened, stand with your community, organize your people, your community, and even though we're in this fast digital age, still just take the time to speak to each other in respect and love, and we all really have the same interests when you look at it.
Do you want to say one last thing? Stephen, please.
I would like to say a quick prayer for all of us, for humanity.
Oh.
Domina kauna tinabasiku tinapodiku balkasa pa anam Eagle Nation, Hawk Nation. I pray to you, Great Spirit, to help humanity, that we unite and stand together to do what is right. Bless each and every one out there, all the brothers, all the sisters, all the, all of our grandmas and grandpas and uncles and aunties and all the children that are growing up through this great spirit. I pray to you and ask you for blessings to help us, to heal us, to protect us during this time of the sicknesses and everything, to give us strength and hope, and bless us that we're able to have a warm house and able to have food and able to have good things and, be in peace with one another. I pray to you, Great Spirit, to bless everyone, to guide us and keep us strong during this time. So, thank you, everybody. Thank you. Blessings.
Amen.
Oh,
Thank you.
you.
Thank you, everyone. Really appreciate it. And I hope that you will keep us posted and keep us updated on what's going on and how we can maybe help get the word out and share good, credible information about the effort that's going on here in Taos with this particular project. Everybody
Thank
who's
you.
with you.
One last thing, people can look on Facebook, Guardians of Taos Water. We are actually grassroots people and not part of that organization, but we are using their platform of their Facebook page to get the word out. So that's one way for now, but we're not trying to raise money for that organization because we're a grassroots movement just trying to stop the implementation of the abatement settlement and the wells right now.
Okay. All right. Very good. Thank you so much, everyone. And please be safe.
Thank you. Take care.
Okay, so this is really important information for everybody to keep track of, and please follow along with this group. We will post more links, and I hope that we are able to keep up with the story and keep you informed, as well as what you can do either for this group, for the Dakotas, or in your area to help make sure that, good God, like Chicago's water system hasn't been updated since the 50s, right? So,
Well, and but that's the problem. It's not profitable to update water systems, right?
and that is so frustrating because profits are earned. Even Lincoln said this. If you're a Republican and you're touting Lincoln as your champion, go back to look at what he said, that it is the production, the worker who creates the value. Right? I'm paraphrasing, but this is exactly it. So in the land of Lincoln, you would think that, hey, if we're going to continue to pursue profits, we should maybe take care of the people who are actually earning the profits by doing the work, give them fresh, clean water. And by the way, 2014 is when Flint started to have its issue. It's 2021. They still don't have clean water. Still. And it's just indescribable to me that these are still basic issues that we have to fight for. And I hope that people in this country will start to wake up and realize we are the shithole country that we talked about. This is how far we have fallen. And I get frustrated because anybody who is born and raised in this country who has never traveled outside of our borders would have no idea how far ahead the rest of the world has gone. And we have actually gone backwards with our waterways, our roads, our bridges, how we care for each other, and now with water itself. So you've got Nestle and all these other companies bottling it and profiting off of it, what should be a basic human right. It boggles the mind that.
Well, and that's the main part of capitalism that is destroying the earth, right? Because the people, the elitist capitalists, the neoliberal capitalists are always trying to expand their markets, always trying to find something new to make a profit on, because that's the business model, right? You don't have investors unless you are expanding, unless you're making more, unless you are taking more of GDP, right? That's the business model of the current day capitalist model.
That is new. The way that it used to be in regulated capitalism was it was a quality metric. In the US, if you had a made in the USA product, it was a moniker of quality. And then we went to a quarterly model where businesses reported quarterly. We tied that to CEO compensation, gave them stock incentives, and now we've gone away from quality, we've gone away from US production, we've gone away from all of that to exactly what you're describing, this vulture capitalism.
Right. And what I was saying earlier about removing your capital, your money from the capitalists is really one of the only effective ways that we have to do things right now, right? Like how did any successful endeavor from the progressive side, from the working people, gain success over the last few years? And I look to the example of the teacher strikes, Sarah Nelson said there are no illegal strikes, there are only unsuccessful ones, right? We had successful teacher strikes, although the laws, quote unquote, said that you cannot strike. Well, they went on strike and got what they wanted, right? You took away your labor, you take away your capital. The Washington Football Club is a very appropriate example right now. The Washington Football Club, the owner, about a decade ago, said, "Over my dead body will I change the name of this team." Well, recently,
and
FedEx,
he's alive. Right.
FedEx, one of their main companies, capital providers, was getting pressure from outside groups to say, we are going to remove our capital from you unless this changes. So FedEx went to the team and said, we are going to leave unless you change the team. Oh, okay then.
Right. Okay, so real quick, Kami John has been weighing in. So good morning, Kami John. And he is in total agreement with you and pushing back on what I just said. He said, no, capitalism has always been bullshit. It's just good propaganda. And okay, all right. I'm not going to argue that point, but let me pivot a little bit to the civics aspect of it, because it's identical to what you were saying about capitalism and business. So here we have a city council. All of those people are elected and they want to get reelected. So therein, you remove their capital, which is your vote, your support, all of these things, if they are not going to represent you and your interests. So if you happen to be in Taos and you're watching this, or you have friends and family, whatever, who are there, make sure that they understand and have them contact their local representative. And this would be your city council. And these are the people who are approving the local permits, because federal can say whatever, you still got to have these permits, right? And for those people who are in New Mexico, again, we're having a special election. These are people who want to represent us in Congress to replace Deb Haaland. Where do they stand on this, right? So if you're going to represent me in Congress, I want you to be mindful of water and how it affects every farm all down the Rio Grande. If you have no position or don't know what's going on in Taos right now, I don't want you as my representative in Congress. And then we have all of these people in the state legislature. Have we made phone calls to them? So it's the same concept that we would use with business. Remove their capital. For a politician, it's removing support and their votes and maybe their donors, right? So
absolutely. Yeah. That's the key, right? All of this, what the US has just gone through with the election, with getting rid of the fascist Trump, right? Well, you just got the same fascist regime, just with a different cast. And it is not any different. All of the lies that Trump said while he was campaigning, when he was elected in 2016, is when we found out that they were all lies, right? I don't see any difference with the Biden administration. I don't see any. There has been nothing happened, right?
That's your Russian bot showing, really.
Well, yes, but I did. My point is, we need to make the capitalists uncomfortable. It's the only way we're going to get change. right? We have to remove their ability to enrich themselves. Ultimately, that is what's going to change. You don't look for politicians to make change. You change and you make the politicians change.
Thank you. Beautifully said. And one last point when it comes to water and your money, right? So if you live downstream, and by downstream I mean the Rio Grande, which goes through all of these states, right? And you have a house and you have a well, and all of a sudden your well at 50 feet, 100 feet, it goes dry because the water table is dropped. It's going to cost you anywhere from $15,000 to $35,000 as an individual to drill your well deeper and hope that you reach the water table, the new level of the water table. And just remember, that is your contribution to these corporations who have taken the privatization of the profit model and passed that money on to you. So your house will be worth not so much without access to water. So you will either have to drill that well deeper, or you will now be buying water from the companies who are taking the water that was originally there for you. How does that make any sense at all?
It doesn't.
No, it doesn't. So we could go on for hours, and hopefully we will have more updates, particularly today and tomorrow, from what's going on in Taos. And then we want to reach out to North Dakota and other folks. And good God, what's still happening in Flint, right? So we want to follow up on all of this. And I hope that if you watch this, you walked away with this idea that the power is in your hands. What you can do today, either to help these individuals by physically going there, or maybe calling your own representative and saying, hey, this isn't right. So if this went into law here in Taos, we can undo it. And do we really care if any of these companies file a lawsuit? I don't. Water is far more important.
Exactly. And if we can get more people down there, and some of our media, independent media, whatever you want to call it, down there to take pictures, to see the resulting conflicts that happen because of this, right? Then we get to again see what happened, like what happened in South Dakota, and the response of the capitalists and the police department, right? The veil is being lifted very slowly, but it is being lifted, right? There's a hell of a lot more people in Texas right now that are starting to understand the effects of climate change than were a couple of weeks ago.
Absolutely.
Right? You can't hide a state.
Absolutely. So, I agree. So I want to thank Kami John, who, he's also saying Minnesota too, water protectors versus Enbridge. Yep, that's all going on, and it's just ridiculous what this Enbridge, they could put their oil on a boat and take it around, and they don't want to do that. They want to go through our farmland. So we hope to keep up with all of that, in particular Taos, because as Mike was saying, today and tomorrow are pivotal for this particular effort. So we'll keep track on that, and I will keep in touch with Mike to get these updates. And then please share this broadcast and make sure that you are doing your part, whether it's locally or on a national level. It's so simple. Just pick up the phone, make a phone call, share this broadcast, have a conversation, do what you need to do. So that's all I got, Andy. Any closing thoughts?
Just that this is a great show. I hope people take what they heard today to heart, because, this is really going to affect our lives moving forward. And we need to be talking about this in groups, getting over our small petty differences and understanding that this is the only planet we have. And we need to stop talking about Neratandon and the distractions that are put in front of us. And so anyways, that's our show for today. Thank you so much, Carrie Barber. Wonderful as always. Everyone, enjoy the rest of your Wednesday, and we'll see you on Friday. Take care.
We bout that, ayy. We in the zone, we out here, yeah. Spitting the facts, how it's supposed to be. Hair of the dog.